Holy shit, people. It is the return of the MMA Podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in. It has been probably the longest break we've taken between two episodes. So I say it almost each episode, but we got a whole lot to break down. The leading story, of course, Jon Jones, just days after he defends his world title at UFC 182 against Daniel Cormier, he tests positive for cocaine and checks himself into a rehab facility, and so many stories surrounding that, whether the UFC will punish him, whether the state commission will punish him, drug tests aside from that. And we also have a whole month of MMA news to break down. We got Ramses here, Davey Boy here. Let's do it, people.
You're listening to the MMA Podcast.
That's right, Lenny Hart. Thank you for providing us with that drop to play each episode. Thank you, Eddie Bravo and Smoke Serpent, who just a couple weeks before our first ever episode, I literally have a hair on my tongue. Great way to return from the show. I have fucking hair on my tongue. I don't even know where this came from. Anyway, Eddie Bravo,
son of a bitch.
a couple weeks before our first show ever in June 2012, said we could use his song Smoke Serpent for the intro. We've used it in every episode since. Shout out to our boy Mystery for the outro that you'll hear at the end of the show. You just heard Ramses, but first and foremost, I want to introduce our buddy in Guam. It's like already February over there. Davey Boy, what the hell's going on?
Hey, what's happening, Jake? What's going on, Ramses? Yes, you are talking to the future of the world and mixed martial arts right now. Big shout out to E-Law and all those guys over at Crossbones MMA, the keyboard warriors. Also a big shout out to Adam Hunter. Thanks for the retweets. Got over like 1,000 freaking retweets for the memes and the GIFs that I posted that we'll probably talk about here on this episode.
And I'd also like to thank Adam, who I saw in Las Vegas just, what is it, Wednesday? Just 3 or 4 nights ago at Bally's. When there's a big UFC show in Vegas, Adam is doing shows a lot of times. I was there for UFC 175 and UFC 182, and both times I was able to see him at the LA Comedy Club in Las Vegas at Bally's. So check if you're ever there for Vegas and see a show, because it's fucking hilarious. Or if he's ever in your town or city. So we got me, we got Davey Boy, and last but not least, the host of the Word on the Street podcast.
I'm here, guys. Thanks, Jake. Yeah, I'm here on the MMA Podcast. And I gotta say, man, it's like Jon Jones is so outrageous. It's getting hot in here, so I'm gonna do some coke. I am getting so high. I want to do some blow with a little bit of and a little bit of. That's right, guys. Bringing you the word on the street. Thank you, Jake. Thank you, Davey Spears. First episode of the year. I can't wait, man. I'm pumped up. Let's get right to it, man. Word on the street.
Oops, we usually do. We got a new mic here, so I'm sorry if I fuck up with it at all. But we usually do a pretty structured format. We'll talk about the events in the past, week or so since the last show, and then the news, and then the events that are going to be rolling up in the next week or two. But I don't know. We just got to skip forward and cover the topic that I think everyone has been talking about exclusively the last 3 or 4 days.
100% pure Colombian cocaine.
Southern smoke.
Yeah.
talking snowflakes. Man.
It's Jon Jones, and we've already made a lot of obnoxious jokes about it just a few minutes in, but man, this is last year we had the year end with wild news, which was Silva's leg breaking, and now just a year later, just as unexpected, just as freakish seeming. I don't think anyone real. I mean, there were folks in the know who knew that Jones did cocaine, but I don't think anyone really suspected it was a problem of this magnitude. Man, Dave, I'll throw it to you first. What was your first reaction when you found out that Jon Jones had checked himself into a rehab facility for cocaine usage?
I came into work, like it was around like 9 o'clock when I got the news, and I think it was like around, I don't know, like 3 or 4 o'clock for you guys in the afternoon when I got the news. Ela from Crossbones MMA actually tweeted this out, and I'm like, is this fucking for real? And so I read it. You know, he got busted for cocaine and just like immediately chucks himself in a rehab, hot out of the oven, shooting out freaking roasted tweets and stuff. You know, I mean, it just began from there. But on a serious note, I mean, just like looking at all of this, you know, like all the details and stuff, you know, it was an out of competition drug test, which, I mean, at first I didn't really know what it meant. At first, I'm like, so it's an illegal drug. He should probably get suspended and probably stripped of his title. But since it was an out of competition drug test, it's something, I guess, he gets kind of like a free pass on that one for cocaine. I'm like, wait a minute, hold the fuck on. You know, this is an illegal drug. You know, like drugs are drugs, you know, period. Drugs are bad, okay? So like how's he getting a free pass from this one? You know? But I mean, for more speculation in this, I mean, there's not a lot that we know about right now. So, but going back though, I mean, on a serious note, I know me, you, Ramses, I think CM Gracie were talking about this like a long time ago when Jones was just like acting like a diva and stuff. And I think we mentioned that, like, you know what? Karma's going to come back to bite you in the ass. And sure enough, I think this is Jon Jones's karma. You know, no matter, like, I mean, we don't even know like how long he's been doing cocaine and whatnot. But at the same time, though, I mean, this is probably his reality check right here that he needs to clean up. But now for the UFC to like stand behind him, you know, my first thought was like, all right, so the Nevada State Athletic Commission, they're not going to do anything at this point in time. They're not going to do anything to any actions on Jon Jones. No suspension, no fines, nothing like that, because it was a quote unquote out of competition drug test. Yeah. So what's the UFC? Yeah. So what's the UFC going to do? I mean, are they going to take a stand? You know, and be the professional sports of mixed martial arts, or the professional organization of mixed martial arts, and take a stand. And for what it is right now, at that time, it didn't seem like they were going to do anything. I mean, Dana White shot out, you know, a message saying that like he stands behind Jon Jones. He's a true champion for checking himself in. You know, and I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. Okay, if he's supposed to be the face of UFC, the greatest of all time, arguably, you know, at this point in time, even after he beat DC, you know, at UFC 182, you know, he's supposed to be the role model for kids and stuff like that, but he got busted for coke, you know, which, I mean, in my mind, I mean, drugs are drugs, whether it be like a PED or a street drug, you know, like how are you not going to, what's up?
Before we get too deep, I just wanted to get your first reaction before we start, you know, going too deep in punishment
okay,
and
well,
all that.
I mean,
well, no, you mentioned there are a ton of smoking guns, whether it's punishment, whether it's this drug test that we haven't heard about, whether it's him taking masking agents that lowered his T to E ratio, or whether it was the coke that did it. A lot of things to talk about, whether, you know, Gus versus Rumble should be for an interim belt. But Ramses, what was the first thing that went through your mind when you first found out about all this?
I was like, good gracious, John is outrageous. I can't believe it. It honestly, my world fell apart at about 4 p.m., 5 p.m. yesterday. You know, but it all clicked into place at the same time. It was the weirdest thing. Everything made sense. Now we know why he didn't tap to Vitor's arm bar. Now we know why he was selling shirts for $99 a piece. That's right. It was getting hot in here. It was time to do some coke. God bless him. I hope he's... I mean, now it's day 2 in rehab, like I said on Twitter. Now we know why, why they call it Jonesing for a fix. Everything's falling into place. I wish him nothing but the best.
It's in God's hands.
I hope he gets... Exactly. It's like, why did God make him do cocaine? Like, that's another question that I'm battling with right now. Every day is a struggle, It's like, why would God let a champion who tattooed his own body with a Bible verse succumb to sin? Start skiing down the slopes. Start seeing helicopters. Start bumping that grind. The key to victory, well, guess what? How much more can I go on? Word on the street.
And my first thought after, wow, I hope he gets help. I hope, he's such a talented person. My first thought was, man, I would so much rather see, like, a good guy Jones be the face of the sport than, like, an immature troll Jones. Yeah, Jones has had a couple funny trolls, but for the most part, it just seems malicious, and I don't really like that being the face of the sport. And my first thought was, hopefully, he can be a better person and better, rep MMA. But then I thought, punishment, shit, is he going to be stripped? All this. And I think Kevin Ioli first dropped it on Yahoo and said, yeah, because this is out of competition. He's not going to be, punished by the athletic board, so it won't be overruled a no contest. And currently, the UFC has not suspended him, any of that. And I don't know, man. Money talks, and this is a cash cow, and you're not going to hold him back. It was funny. I think it was front row Brian, who, if you have not heard the FRB show yet, people, go and check it out. I think FRB tweeted, like, yeah, you know who enforces the code of conduct at the UFC? Matt Hughes. Matt Hughes. Think about that for a second. So, Dave, you were sort of getting on a roll before.
Actually, I have something to add to that. I'm sorry, Jake.
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right, man. Let's hear it.
I heard a legit word on the street rumor, exclusive here in the MMA podcast, that when Matt Hughes heard about the Jon Jones coke bust, he was so upset. Allegedly, he told the teenage girl in his hotel room to just beat it and go home that night. He was that upset.
Wow. Jeez.
Word on the street. Allegedly.
But Dave, you were sort of getting on a roll about punishment and all of that. What did you think when you started hearing, like, yeah, he's probably not going to be punished at all for this?
Well, I mean, I guess I understand when it comes to, the athletic commission, when they say it's out of competition drug testing. I mean, what can you do at that point? I mean, there's not really a say-so or an outrage or a protest to the athletic commission at that point in time. So, like, it really, like, just fell on the UFC, at that moment. I mean, I think I remember Ben Rothwell, getting busted for steroids, but somehow that athletic commission wasn't going to fine him or suspend him, but the UFC did. So where was this when it comes to Jon Jones? I mean, if not like a strip of the title, at least like a suspension or a fine. But I guess like him chucking himself into rehab, it's like, is that what we're gonna do? I mean, is it only gonna be for performance enhancing drugs that we're gonna suspend people for? Like we're talking street drugs, we're talking cocaina, the booger sugar. The white dragon, we're talking drugs that, we're talking like some heavy shit, besides performance enhancing drugs that Jon Jones was doing. So like, is there the coco
Brazilian bomba?
So like, I think it should have been up to UFC to like take a stand on that one and to like initiate like, you know what, we're going to suspend him. Good job, Jon Jones, for going to rehab, but we're going to suspend you at least, maybe not a fine, but a suspension. But I don't know, like some doesn't seem right, with the UFC. It just seems that like either they're trying to cover up something or they're trying to help the Nevada State Athletic Commission, because they probably fucked up in something too now, because like now there's more speculation that there was more drug testing after December 2nd or the 3rd when he did get tested.
Look, guys, here's the real. That's it. Here's the real. It's not like I haven't been saying it the whole damn time. The UFC, it still makes me laugh, the amount of sports reporters and journalists and MMA so-called bigwig reporters and that still believe that they're covering an actual sport, an actual organized sport. They don't realize, and they'll never accept it when they do because it'll be embarrassing, that they've basically been covering the WWF like it was the NFL for the past 10 years. They won't accept it. They won't admit it. I'll say it again. They've been covering the WWF like it was the NFL for the past 10 years. It's embarrassing. Who would admit to that? Dave Meltzer, he won't even admit that he was seriously trying to cover the WWF as a sport like back in the 90s. He'll never admit it. It's embarrassing. It's humiliating. You'll never see the smartest man in the room, Luke Thomas, admit that he took this sport seriously. Because it's not a sport. It's entertainment. Even on the MMA podcast, I had the honor and distinction of co-interviewing and speaking with a real journalist and reporter, Mike Straka, and even he had to admit that on some level it was sports entertainment and not an actual organized sport with real rankings and legitimacy. The fact that what I'm getting at, sorry guys, but like it's kind of coming full circle for me. Like if this doesn't wake you up to what I've been saying since the beginning, nothing will. It is absolute all bullshit. None of it matters. None of it. Okay, the drug testing, the TRT, the steroids, like none of it matters. It's all hypocrisy. It's all about who can sell pay-per-views, who we're going to put on next, and I guarantee you enough people will conspire to make the big money fights happen every single time. Try to name one time when it has not happened due to some sort of intervention and people were just like, you know what, we got to do what's right instead of making money. Name one fucking time. Name one. The UFC is sports entertainment. Accept it. It's the WWE, except it's as real as it gets. That's why it doesn't say it's as real as life. It's as real as it gets, people. Word on the street.
Hey, Jake, if I could chime in on what Ramsey was saying, kind of like a caveat to that as well. The UFC, I don't even think the UFC was even going to even considering the canceling the card. You got to also think too, and I tweeted this out as well. Number one is the card, it's the first card of the year, and they had this campaign on Time Is Now and stuff like that, so they didn't want to lose that first card in January. And number two, I mean, that Jon Jones and DC, relationship that they have, that's a needle mover. And for them to cancel that like in the last minute, I don't think that was never going to happen. Just want to add that in there. I'm sorry.
No, it was fine. I was going to mention when Chris and I had Michael Chiavello on a year or two ago, he went on this long rant saying, it's not about rankings, it's about ratings. And the UFC has just
gotta
become
isolate that clip
so
already.
transparent. Yeah, I really do. It's not about rankings, it's about ratings. But it has just gotten so obviously transparent. And I think sort of like Vince McMahon is, Dana White is very much about records and numbers and all that. And the fact that Jon Jones has defended the belt 8 times, if he gets stripped, then it's going to go down in the UFC record books that one of the greatest title streaks of all time was broken up, whether it was stripped or whether there was an interim title put up because of a cocaine addiction. And I think Dana doesn't want that to be a sort of scar on the UFC's record. Whether or not, it seems almost certain now that he's not going to be punished either by the commission or by the UFC. Dana came on and was very much pro Jones, saying he will fight in 2015, and sounded very much in his corner. So if they punished him now, it would be shocking, unless one of these smoking guns it came up. Hey, he was taking this masking agent. Who knows? But it seems like now he's gonna kind of skate through this all right. I don't know. It's just a thing. Obviously, I don't think most, if any, listeners believe the Ramses gimmick that the UFC is the WWE. But one thing he's saying is very true, and it's you can't really expect the UFC to act ethically. I mean, it's almost like I'll see weekly, monthly, the UFC does something that's transparently not maybe the most ethical thing, but the thing that's going to make them the most money. And it's not even a story anymore. Like it happens so much, and it's so transparent. I almost feel like we're beating a dead horse now.
Hey Jake, I got a question actually for you, man. I mean, I just want to get your take on this.
Okay,
it's 2 questions actually. Do you find it funny? Like, it was last year when Dan Harrison was supposed to fight Jon Jones, and Dan gets injured. Jones doesn't want to fight anybody else, but they canceled that card because Jones didn't want to fight anybody, and Dan was injured, apparently. But they don't cancel this card? I don't know, man.
I think the UFC had a little bit of time to cancel the card at 151, but for 182... Yeah. I would have been irate if I had flown to Vegas on Friday and I find out Friday night that the card has been canceled. Like, I would have been like, what the fuck? Pay for my airline tickets too, son. But
yeah. Well, here's the other question too. Here's the other question too. Like, I mean, this happened like 2 or 3 weeks ago in Ramses. If you want to chime on this one too, please. I want to hear your take on this as well. They, 6 months ago or 6 or 7 months ago, the whole TRT scandal came about, and the UFC was taking a stand. They were like, okay, we're gonna push for drug testing too as well. But now all of a sudden, like they bowed out. And shout out to Elon on this one too, because I was thinking the same thing. But they bowed out of the out of competition drug testing, and now all of a sudden Jon Jones pops hot for coke. Kind of like around the same window and stuff like that. I mean, do you see any speculation / conspiracy on that issue?
Well, that's the problem. The problem is the rules are always, honestly, to be fair, evolving. Like, for instance, when Pat Bam Bam Healy got his 100K plus bonus taken away because he tested positive for having smoked marijuana or something. He had marijuana metabolites. They took away his money. He got fucked. It was ruled a no contest, I believe, even. So he got totally screwed. But then a couple months later, the commission just rescinded that regulation. They upped their threshold for marijuana metabolites so that, you know, if Pat Healy were to take the test again today, they would have had no basis. He would have been failed. They wouldn't have taken his money. Like the sport and the regulation evolved to the point where, you know, somebody was a victim. But that's what made the change. Unfortunately, yeah, we're seeing victims here. Patrick Bam Bam Healy, Chael Sonnen, of course. I mean, the dude was on TRT legally, and then they took it away, and then, well, guess what? He couldn't get it off it just like that overnight. He fails the test. He gets popped for taking other stuff just to try to cope. Legally prescribed drugs. He gets fired and blackballed from the UFC and Fox. Meanwhile, Jon Jones is doing an actual illegal drug, a damaging unhealthy substance. But guess what? He skates. He gets a pass. Yeah, it's total bullshit. Like that's why I'm saying, like, don't make no more illusions about the UFC, guys, and MMA regulation. It's a joke. It's all a dog and pony show. I mean,
money
what more
talks.
you need to see. Exactly.
Money
what
talks.
more do you need to see?
If it was Jimmy Manoa, he would be suspended for sure. But it's Jon Jones. It's their cash cow. They're not dumb. This is about making money.
Oh yeah, because they knew the commission covered themselves by letting the UFC, like, it's out there. The commission let the UFC know he failed this drug test, and they they kind of like that's how you cover your ass and then put it on somebody else. Like, the UFC knew it, and they let the fight continue, so it's on them. That the commission is a joke. Drug regulation is a joke, but I will say, I'm sorry, Jake, for interrupting you. I will say that I still do love and enjoy the UFC and will pay for every fucking fight that I have to pay for and enjoy it. I just want it to be out there in the open, like I've been saying all along. I enjoy good work if it's done well. Fuck, I understand how the business works. I'm not an idiot. I just want to see good fights, and if they have to be worked, I've seen some damn good works, man. Let's get some performers out there. I don't give a fuck anymore. That's my point.
Yeah, I was just going to say really quick, you know, the three of us are sort of trying to comb through this whole story as thoroughly as possible. But if you're listening live on Ustream and you got a hot take, you know we love hot takes, you can call in real quick. The phone number is 213-457-3380. I think the three of us will keep trying to comb through it slowly, but if you got a hot take, we're all ears on Cokegate 2015. The Jon Jones rehab story. It is developing. There are smoking guns. I feel like Nancy Grace. Welcome to Cokegate 2015. Jon Jones. Will he come out of this a better person?
What's that number? One more time so I can tweet it out.
The phone number is 213-457-3380. Oh, should Jon Jones be punished? Cocaine is a hell of a drug. Children might see this as a reason to do cocaine, as a reason to get further away from a relationship with our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. David boy, you have any hot takes?
Yeah, and another thing too. I mean, Rams is kind of like, you know, was bringing this up, and I know we were talking about this off air, and also you, Nancy, Jake.
I'm Nancy Jake.
Nancy Jake. So, like, we're talking about this masking agent that Jon Jones is apparently going through. There was 2 drug tests that came back. I guess apparently like his TRT ratios were low, but like his other, I forgot the name. I don't even know how to like pronounce this, but his other
Epitestosterone.
Yeah, was like 2,700 basically out of 11,000, and they're like I read this on SBNation.com, and they're basically saying that like they're speculating that this could be a masking agent now. So with that being said, and this goes back to the meme that I saw last night, going back to Chael Sonnen and Jon Jones. So let's just say, for instance, that Jon Jones is proven that Jon Jones masked a PED, and like it's out there, it's official and stuff like that. What does that do for Team Sonnen? What does that do for Chael Sonnen? Is he gonna say anything? Because I mean, you gotta think about it. Like this like Jon Jones got busted like a month, or he basically was a month away from fighting. In the main event. Chael Sonnen was 2 months away from fighting Vanderlei Silva, and he gets banned. Basically, he gets suspended for a year or 2. But Jon Jones doesn't, like in that speculation right there, like, would there be any play for us to see Chael P. Sonnen campaign to like be reinstated back in the UFC if it is proven that Jon Jones masked, a PED?
Yeah, and really quick, Dr. Johnny Benjamin tweeted earlier today and said when he sees a very low T to E ratio, like one we saw with Jones, he's concerned that exogenous T and epi-T are being administered. Exogenous meaning outside the body, so exogenous T would be PEDs, and exogenous epi-T or testosterone would be a masking agent. I don't know. It's pointing toward a lot of things, and the UFC's punishment or lack of a punishment, I thought was going to be the biggest story here. But now with this really low T to E, there are a lot of experts saying that coke could be a reason that you are not producing that much testosterone, but the fact that your levels of epitestosterone are 4.4 times the norm, that's pointing toward masking agents. And masking agents, obviously, what are you masking? You're masking the PEDs you're taking. So this PED thing might turn out to be the biggest smoking gun here. What are your thoughts on that, Ramses? And if anyone wants to call, once again, 213-457-3380. Hot takes. Oh, yeah. Our Skype is the MMA Podcast. If you'd rather Skype us, save a little money, do what it do.
The MMA Podcast on Skype. Do it now, you sons of bitches. Even if you're shy, you never called into anything in your life. You don't even know us from Adam. It don't matter. Just fucking do it. Who gives a shit? Just pick up your damn phone. You had some drinks or a puff or 2. Give us a call. 213-457-3380. Skype, the MMA Podcast, or Word on the Street Podcast. It don't matter. Whatever. Anyway, obviously, I mean, it doesn't take a genius, as far as I'm concerned, to figure out that, the coke bust was a sacrifice bunt to distract from, obviously, the fact that Jon Jones is on some shit. I think that much is clear. Even though, like, it's one of those things where it's like Jon Jones is basically the O.J. Simpson of MMA. Now, he did it, but you can't quite prove it, But all the evidence is there. The gloves, they might not fit, but they got dirtied up by his paw prints. He probably was on some shit. I mean, what the fuck? Even his opponents are saying, like, he was a lot bigger than I thought he'd be. He was a lot stronger than I thought. Do they have to come out and straight up admit it to you people? Jones, Well, I don't think he was taking the coke to mask anything, or there's no that would just be stupid because there's not enough. Nobody's ever done any sort of background research on that shit.
Yeah, and really quickly, we do have a caller, and
Put him
this
on.
caller is a old time friend of the show. We haven't heard him in a while. It's your boy CM Gracie, the Ninja. What's going on, dude?
The Ninja.
What up, Gracie?
What's up?
Holy shit! Give him full court. What's happening, Ninja?
Hell yeah.
Where
No
you
shit,
been?
hell
What do you
yeah.
got? What do you got to say about Jon Jones or whatever's on your mind?
Jon Jones, my longtime friend. I should say it's nice to be back, gentlemen. It's nice to be back and hear all your voices. It's been a long
You
time
too,
coming.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
send something into the shadows. Sometimes you send something into the shadows, and the shadows send something back. The Ninja takes off his mask and reveals himself to be Chris Gracie, son of the great Henzo Gracie. Now on to my good friend, Jon Jones. Let me put this into perspective for you people. Shale P. Sonnen, the greatest of all time, my good friend, our leader and ruler of the world here in 2000 and Shale. He leaves the UFC because he was taking TRT to, in fact, get Brittany Sonnen, his wife, pregnant. That's a good thing because I think they're due, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's coming up soon. Anywho,
like 3 months.
so he has a legitimate reason to take this, and is booed, banned, blacklisted, buried somewhere in the deserts of Nevada, never to be seen in the UFC again. Yet Johnny Bones Jones makes a conscious decision to put cocaine into his body, knowing the risks of what would happen if the people in the UFC, if the public, if the media, and everybody would find out. He took that risk knowing that his title, his job, his career, everything he's worked hard for, he took that risk knowing that was all on the line, and he chose to do it anyway. Yet the UFC does absolutely nothing. So, for all the aspiring UFC wannabes, the MMA kids working so diligently that I see and help week in and week out, they want to make a career. Now that they see the quote, and I really emphasize the quotes here on this one, the quote, pound for pound, number one fighter in the world got there on cocaine. Now
Gram
tell
for gram.
me, I have to go to my gym now and tell these kids not to use drugs because they're bad, when obviously this big giant piece of crap, Jon Jones, used it and became successful.
You don't do coke with your students? I used to tutor. I did that all the time.
No.
Honestly, it'll probably make them a little bit better, more laser focused, a little more spry. I would for sure give all my students coke.
Yeah. No, I don't think we do that.
Hey, I wish we could keep you on longer, but the call will get a little shaky once it gets over three people. But before we let you go, I wanted to hear your take on the punishment or lack of a punishment by the state and by the UFC, and B, sort of the smoking gun. Do you think he also was maybe taking masking agents that were masking PED use? And do you think the NSAC will have the balls to further test these samples?
Well, first of all, living in Nevada, I am very, very, not happy with my state right now. There's been rumors and stuff going around that nothing's going to happen, that, oh, God bless Jon Jones for going and getting help. That's complete crap. This guy needs to be out of the UFC, off of television, and on TMZ like the rest of the frickin' junkies are in the world. And as far as performing-enhancing drugs, obviously I have not been there. Jones has done his thing. I've not been around Jones 24/7. But being a former police officer, if you're going to put cocaine in your body, there's probably a good chance that if somebody's like, hey, this will make your fight better, hey, this will make you never lose, he'll probably be like, yeah, fuck it, sure. I mean, if you're going to get caught for cocaine, what's the point of hiding anything else?
I can attest that I have done coke, and if I was a fighter, I would probably do steroids. So you are one for one on that one.
Same here.
I mean,
two for two.
What does coke do? I mean, you snort coke before you go down to the ring. It hypes you up. It fires you up. You've got energy for days, and you can't feel a fucking thing. I mean, excuse the language, but holy crap! Like, and you're treating this like it's a problem. No, it's not a problem. It's a stimulant. And what on earth could you possibly need to be more stimulated for than fighting a world-class fighter like Daniel Cormier or any of the other ones he fought? And on the same token, how far back does this go? Like, did he beat Shogun on cocaine? And the lack of the UFC's involvement in this at all, UFC probably, which of course is paying for the rehab of their god, of their poster boy in Jon Jones. He's such a great person. How far back does it go? Does this guy, what's he doing cocaine and Shogun? Shogun could have whooped his ass if he wasn't on cocaine. He just tarnishes already a really horrible turn of his career. And what's really sad and makes me sick to his stomach is that he'll probably get out of rehab, bounce back, like they'll twist it into some miracle work, some really hard work. Oh, Jon Jones had some bad times, and then he will have a long and illustrious career, in spite of him outright cheating.
Yeah, and a sort of like I said, the UFC more and more is getting more transparent and more transparent about not behaving like an ethical, business and just doing what makes the most money. And you're setting a precedent here, like you've set a bad precedent the last 2 or 3 years. You don't make the fights that make the most sense. You make the fights that make the most money. That's been set, and now you're having this bar set where, hey, if you're a superstar and you don't technically break the rules, but you fuck up, we will back you up. But if you're not a superstar, you better watch it. You might be on thin ice. And it's just transparently really fucked up. But like I said, it's sadly what we've started to come to expect from Zuffa. But Chris Gracie, it's awesome hearing from you, and I really hope we hear from you more. We took 4 weeks off, but we'll be steamrolling ahead in the next few months. You better call in. Where can we find you on Twitter? And give us a nice outro promo, buddy.
You can find me at CM Gracie. That's CM Gracie on Twitter. Don't be afraid. Follow me. Talk to me, interact. It's cool, man. I'll teach you a few things about life, as we all know. As far as an outro promo goes, I love to say, man, you guys are awesome. Just being there to support. I don't have any rants or any crazy things to go off of because because I really need to give it to you guys and anybody listening. Just the support. It's coming on to almost a year. In the beginning of February, it'll be a year since what has happened to me. And without you guys, I wouldn't be doing great and as successful as I am now. So I really got to give it to you, everybody listening, everybody that hoped and believed and prayed and did whatever they did, smoked a little more weed in Ramses' case, whatever all you guys did for me to help me succeed like I have. I have to give it all to you. I love you guys from the bottom of my heart. If you're a listener, if you're a first-time listener to this show, please keep tuning in. They're badass guys, really great. Follow them all. They'll change your life forever like they have mine. Thanks for having me on, guys.
Love you too, man.
It's an honor, man.
Here's to an awesome 2015. We'll talk to you later. That's CM Gracie, one of the nicest folks who has been a part of this weird podcast cast family, and almost brings a tear to my damn eye, people. But me and Ramses are sadly devoid of all emotion after after the 1990s spit us up and chewed us out. God, sucker. But yeah, we sort of were getting to this point, which the story has inched along a little more, and this is where I think the story is now, because it's all about sort of moving the story as far forward as possible. First, it was Jon Jones tested positive. Will he be suspended? Will the fight be turned over to a no contest? And Kevin Iole pushed that forward to probably not. Then he joins rehab, all this, and it seemed like maybe there weren't any smoking guns until just it was either earlier today or yesterday where we find out about the T to E thing and elevated levels of testosterone. And it doesn't really end there, because if they really wanted, the Nevada State Athletic Commission could do a carbon isotope ratio test on the 3 samples of urine that they have from Jon Jones. A CIR test, which it's called carbon isotope ratio. It's a lot more expensive than the drug tests that they did on Jones and a bunch of other fighters. But this it examines the atomic makeup of the testosterone in the urine to determine if it's natural or synthetic. So what it really could do is see, all right, well, your testosterone was through the roof and your testosterone was a little low. Did you have masking agents in your urine? And that would be a whole nother ball game. If this would be 10 times, if not bigger than Coke, because Coke is, I don't know, it's out of competition. It's recreational. It's a hell of a drug. But if he's taking a masking agent, that's what Chael was doing, taking a masking agent. This changes everything, and it will remain to be seen in the next few days whether the NSAC decides to do a CIR test or not. Do they have the balls? Honestly, I don't think they do, because like I think I've said a dozen times, it's sad. The UFC is corrupt. The NSAC is corrupt. I feel like Alex Jones, but like it's the fucking truth. They are corrupt. And Dana and Lorenzo, all of these people, the NSAC is in their back pocket. And I don't know.
You finally put it together. Welcome, son. Welcome.
Man,
and I'm
a little depressed. I'm a little depressed seeing it too. Like I am see through this shit now. Fuck.
I am never gonna go as far as Ramsey says that you have like multiple works on most UFC cards and shit.
Why not? Why even now? Why now?
I don't know, man. Maybe by 2016.
Why would you deny that they'll
Maybe
work
by
a
the end
fight?
of this year. Dude, it's just... Oh, man.
And I want to repeat that I love the UFC. I will buy every fucking pay-per-view still. I am not a fool. I'm not going to pretend like the WWF is the NFL or the NBA or even that shit's corrupt. I mean, you saw what happened to the Cowboys.
Yeah,
Holy
you know what?
shit.
Even that shit pisses me off because, like, you know, like going like watching the WWE, knowing it's a fake sport, and like seeing something like, you know, like as real as it gets, and like, you know, it takes away from like the realism that UFC was promoting. I mean, Ramses, I see it too. Like talking to you guys for like over a year and a half, man. Like I see the shit and it pisses me off because like it just takes away from what the UFC was fucking creating was like real
You should
fights.
love it, man. No, you should love it, dude.
I got you.
No,
but it's
when they did real fights, like they were so lucky nobody got killed at UFC 1 through 6.
yeah,
Like, honestly, they was only lucky that nobody got killed. They had to introduce rules. All right, they fought rules at first when the UFC was first introduced. It was supposed to be no rules. You could kick people in the balls. You could gouge their eyes. You could knock out their teeth. No mouthpieces. You could even wear a glove if you wanted to. Only one glove. You didn't even need the second one. It didn't matter.
What's really funny, the going by the Nevada State athletic rule book, he only would have been punished for doing cocaine in competition if he did the coke 12 hours before the fight. Literally,
that's like he could have done it the same day.
he could have done it the night of the weigh-ins and the morning of the fight. And the Nevada State Athletic Commission could have heard about him doing coke the night of the weigh-ins and the morning of the fight, and they would have no basis to punish him because the definition for in-competition use for cocaine is 12 hours before the fight.
12 hours. You could murder
That man's heart
somebody.
could have fucking exploded.
It could have, like, honestly, like, we don't know how much he's doing or anything. We don't even know that. But what I do know is this, and I don't even know it's my turn to talk, but I do want to say that the steroid testosterone, the testosterone levels, that those tests, it's bullshit with Jon Jones because, like, they caught Chael Sonnen like with some shit that nobody even knew they could test for. They caught him for HGH and whatever, and they're telling us they got nothing on Jon Jones because his piss was too watery. When they caught Chael Sonnen on some shit that nobody even knew about, like the test is so detailed and that accurate, they fired his ass for shit, but all of a sudden when it comes to Jon Jones, it's murky. We don't know. We just know that we caught him for coke, and that's as far as we're going. And all of a sudden the UFC's out of the drug testing game. How much more do you guys need to know? The dude, the cocaine is a cover-up.
Do you think
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Hey, do you think that, like, you know, Team Darkseid's going to campaign for Chael Sonnen's reinstatement into the UFC now? I mean, if it's proven that he masked a PED?
He was obviously coked up for the Chael fight. That's what Chael was getting at. If anybody would know, it'd be fucking Chael. He was like, this guy was bigger and stronger than anything I've ever fucking seen or expected. And Chael would know. All right? Chael, of all people, would know. He just didn't come out and say it, but he knows. I mean, shit, this ain't a surprise to him. Holy shit. It's not a surprise to anybody that's ever been in the game. Like, people use shit to cheat. You might not know specifically what. Cocaine, PCP. Well, weed's not really cheating. That's the one where they'll take all your money and reputation away and ban you and suspend you. The weed. It's as bullshit as the real life laws. It's exactly equivalent. And I'm tired of it and I'm sick of it. Word on the street.
Yeah, and man, it's gonna be very, very interesting to see as drug laws change, which they definitely will in the next few decades, how sports like the UFC, I mean, even outside fighting, football, hockey, basketball, I don't know. Dave, do you think the NSAC will have the balls to give it a CIR test, or is all this just going to get swept under the rug like Ramses and I are letting on a little bit?
No, fuck that. They ain't gonna do that shit. I mean, they're gonna be in more trouble. They're gonna be in more trouble if they do it. I mean, now they're pretty much revealing what Jon Jones has done in his entire life in that aspect now. I mean, like I said before, I mean, I keep chiming this in, but if they do something like that, and they find out that he masked PED and find out what PEDs he took, and this is out of competition, I'm telling you, man, you're going to see a lot of people that are Team Darkseid, Team Sonnen, campaign for Chael Sonnen's reinstatement. It's going to piss a lot of people off when, in all actuality, Chael was probably just scapegoating it for the UFC. I don't see the Nevada State Athletic Commission doing a more extensive testing on Jon Jones. But now here's the thing, though. I mean, we can still find out, through the post-fight drug test what this guy did, and that's scary. I mean, that's still a scary – that's a smoking gun right there. Now everyone's pretty much going to be holding their breath to hope that they don't have anything revealed that Jon Jones did during that fight.
Sorry, yeah.
No, I'll just say real quick. I have to point out that at this point, it's obvious that the UFC was willing to burn a guy like Chael Sonnen just to prove that they were on the up and up about the drug testing, just to make that whole drug testing point. And then a couple months later, they see that it's blown up in their face. They've shot themselves in the foot. They've lost pay-per-view draws. They've lost actual fights because of it. And now they're like, oh, we're out of the fight game. And I just want to say that at this point, they're eating crow, but they owe Chael Sonnen an apology for what they did to that man over taking legally prescribed drugs as opposed to banned heavy ass street crack people.
Oh my god, man. So this I guess looking forward, Dana doesn't sound like he's going to be taking the belt away from Jones or making Rumble Gus an interim fight. But between Rumble and Gus, the fight we'll be breaking down, I guess, in a couple weeks here. UFC Sweden, I think it's January 24th or 25th. But the 24th, UFC on Fox 14. Early prediction, I'll pass to you first, Dave. Who will Jon Jones face when he returns? Will it be Gus, the guy who most folks suspect will win this fight and earn the rematch, or are you picking a Rumble surprise knockout?
I want to pick a Rumble surprise knockout, but is that going to move the needle versus Gus and Jones 2? God damn it, Ramses. I fucking hate you because, you're so fucking right on works and shit, man. But, honestly, my gut, wanted to be fucking real. I'm going to go with Rumble. I think Gus could get knocked out by Rumble. But I think at the same time, though, if we're talking about pay-per-view draws and, what's more of a needle mover, you got to go with Gus and Jones. And then maybe after that, Jones gets Jones and Rumble probably fight too. But that'll literally clean out the division for Jones. Now what do we see after that? Do we see him move up to heavyweight, and pretty much pick his heavyweight fighters like Anderson Silva did? So, but going back, but the point to the question you had, Jake, I see Gus versus Jones.
What about you, Ramses?
What's next for Jon Jones? Honestly, maybe they get Thiago Silva back in, let them both, just ski the slopes and then fight it out. See who the ultimate champion is. Maybe the fight takes place in Josh Crispy's basement where the supposed portal to hell was. Honorable mention from last year. I don't know how many people actually saw that episode of Dr. Phil with UFC fighter Josh Crispy and his stupid wife. But if you haven't, do yourself a favor. You'll never be more outraged in your life. But yeah, it doesn't matter what's next for Jon Jones. Like, it's just at this point, like, they're obviously, and again, I do love the UFC, but they're obviously protecting their champion, even as far as illegal drugs go and doing crack. So why wouldn't they protect him in the octagon as well? I don't think you want him to rematch Gus, just because some asshole in the media might put it together that, hey, these two guys on the cover of the EA UFC game, one of them's been busted for cocaine and a DUI, and the other guy was, robbing and assaulting men and women. I don't know if you want to put that rematch together. Jon Jones is going to have to find a better fight, a new rival. The Cormier rematch would be the fight to make in this instance, just because, people are going to be like, oh, man, it wasn't a fair. It went the distance, which we haven't even talked about the fight because this fucker did coke. But we haven't talked about the fight. But DC did go the distance. Jon could not finish him despite being coked out of his mind. So, yeah, you would make the rematch because it was unfair to Daniel. The dude was on drugs. Whether it be illegal, it didn't matter, it didn't matter with jail, whatever. So yeah, I would rather see the rematch with DC before I saw the Gus fight again, because honestly, Gus. That first fight wasn't that much to write home about, and I know people are declaring it the greatest light heavyweight fight of all time. Some people. But no, I don't want to see that again. I'd rather see DC get a decent shot. Now knowing what we know about Jon Jones, I wish Daniel, I know he's got to play the role, and he has. Like, he's wishing Jon's nothing but the best, hope he gets better, no hard feelings. I wish he would have turned it around and just been screaming and yelling for an instant rematch and calling bullshit. That's what I would advise him to do. And I'd pay money to see that shit. DC mad about the coke, getting that revenge. I'd pay money to see that. Word on the street.
Yeah, and I don't know if we'll see fighters ever. This will for sure make him a little more Jones, a little more humble in the vein of he knows if he starts getting too crazy with the trash talk that the other fighter can come back and call him a cokehead. I think we've beaten this topic to death for about an hour. Let's really quickly break down UFC 182, maybe any other stories that happened in the last 4 weeks, and get the fuck out of here. I'm gonna try and keep shows in 2015 around 90 minutes. Yeah, we'll have the occasional 2+ hour marathon, but I don't know. I'm trying to keep it simple, keep it compact, people. Jones versus DC, or let's actually start at the bottom of the card like we usually do. Fight pass, prelims, no one cares about. Blah blah blah. Dunham won. Jordan with a knockout. Cody Garbrandt defeats Brimage in the third round. Paul Felder over Danny Castillo. In the main card pay-per-view, we had all decisions. Lombard, the big favorite, winning pretty handily. Kyoji Horiguchi, Brad Tavares, Donald Cerrone. That was a really fun fight. Just whooped Miles Jury's ass. And of course, Jon Jones over DC. Davey Boy, what were your reflections on UFC 182?
Well, the main card fucking sucked. I'm sorry. Like, I have to say it. That main card fucking sucked. I was so pissed going through that whole fucking 2-hour card, watching decision after decision. And like, I mean, I'm a Cowboy fan, and I do like Miles Jury, but I was completely disappointed with that fight too. Like out of that whole card, besides Daniel Cormier against Jon Jones, like the pivotal, like, you know, oh shit moment out of that whole card to include the prelims was Danny Castillo going stiff after a spinning back fist. I was like, God damn, that was nuts, you know. But like I said, I mean that fight was cool. Alexis Dufresne getting her fucking ass whipped by a girl that Dana basically said, no, you're not good enough to join like the tough cast, you know, and just beating the fucking shit out of a girl who should never be in the 135 division. She fought for the UFC twice, and she failed to make weight twice, and she gets her ass whipped by a fucking PE teacher. A fucking PE teacher. That girl has no business in there. The Marcus Bruinch fight against I don't even know the guy's name, but I know he's part of like Team Alpha Male though. But
Cody
that was pretty,
Garbrandt.
Yeah, Garbrandt. That was a pretty cool fight. Pretty much sinking in the win on the last second, or in the last round or the last minute or two. That was pretty entertaining. But God damn, dude, that fucking spinning back fist that landed on Dan Castillo. Holy fuck, dude. Like, I actually jumped a little bit after that. And like, and knowing that from that point on, you know, I'm thinking like the main card is going to be fucking awesome. It was in that they should have like switched like the prelim card with the main card. That would have made the main event for Jones and Cormier, because that fucking main event that main card fucking blew. That's all I gotta say about that.
I pretty much agree, man. I did watch the entire card, but again, I have a multi-screen set up here, and in my my compound here in Austin, Texas, it's beyond a man cave. I don't want to insult my place by even labeling it as such, but in my compound, I did have it going, but I was doing like GTA 5 online on the PS3 survival on one screen, watching the fights on the other. The chick fight, that was absolutely outrageous. I don't even know how that fight got put together. Joe Rogan was completely right. He was demanding that the fight be stopped because the chick, it appeared that she had absolutely no mixed martial arts training whatsoever in her entire life, and so I didn't get that either. She was beaten to a pulp in front of her very eyes, but she wasn't finished. And in some cases, that's even worse. Also the Danny Castillo thing, I didn't see that coming. That was absolutely entertaining, though. I don't know if they got paid bonus money for that, but but whoever knocked the hell out of Danny Castillo should have. It reminded me of when they when they knock over like when they freed Iraq and they like took down the statue of Saddam Hussein. Like his arms were all extended and he just fell over, dude. That's what I thought first thing. But Danny Castillo, rest in peace, man. I hope his family, you know, made some money off of that or gets paid. I don't know what the insurance is like in the UFC.
No, man, he actually woke up when he found out that Jon Jones popped hot for coke. He actually woke up from UFC 182.
You know, kid, man, that's probably like from now on, like that's how they're gonna wake up fighters, man. Not even that smelling salt; it's just gonna be coke. And then Jon Bones Jones, like in Bloodsport, remember when Kung Lee or whoever the fuck he is throws lime salt in his eyes? It's just gonna be
hell yeah.
It's just gonna be pure Colombian bomba from now on. Imagine someone throwing pure cocaine in your eyes, dude. That fuck you up worse than an eye poke. You know what I'm saying?
That was a Spearmint Rhino on Sunday night, man.
Oh yeah. You were in Vegas. You were actually at the fights. Why'd you even ask us? You were there. What was it?
You were there.
I'm a gentleman. I'm a gentleman. The chick fight was unfortunate to watch live. Sean Jordan was, I guess, the moment of the fight because like you all let on.
The fat flip, not the back flip, but the fat flip.
The main card did not deliver at all, which I guess of the main card, I really liked Cerrone just winding into those kicks to a down jury toward the end of the fight. That was an awesome fight, and the fact that Cerrone is turning around like 2 weeks later to fight Vincent Henderson in Boston is downright ridiculous. We'll definitely be breaking that fight down and talking a little more in depth about just Cerrone's ridiculous activity, but yeah, it was disheartening as a DC fan to see him sort of just fade out in those championship rounds. But I don't know. Hats off to Jones. He's maybe the best fighter the sport's ever seen.
Hey, hang on. Who were you there with? Where were your seats at? How close were you? Were you there the entire card? Did you buy beers? How much did they cost? Did you touch my Katie bear?
Were you in a T Ortiz like bumping elbows and stuff, man? What's up?
I cannot confirm or deny. I saw your Katie Bear Ramses. I didn't see Tito. I was there with my buddy Tim from Minnesota. We had tickets up in the nosebleeds that we actually bought during the Fight Pass prelims, because the strategy I've used now for UFC 175 and 182 is tickets usually fight week will be a little expensive. Like for 175, I think they were around 300. For 182, they were around 200. And when the prelims start rolling up, these sellers get nervous and desperate, and most people who are going to the fights have already purchased their tickets. So you have all of a sudden it flip-flops and the demand goes down a little bit and the supply goes up and the sellers freak out. And for 175, Yao and I both got tickets that had probably been $3 all week, and we got them for $130 a piece. And for 182, my buddy Tim and I got these seats for $98 a piece, and tickets were going on sale all week for like $200 to $250. So we printed the cards off at the Hooters during the prelims, did another 2 or 3 shots, and walked across the street, because the Hooters is literally right across the street from the MGM. So we walk over there as the Fox Sports 1 prelims are starting to get going. We caught the Sean Jordan fight, caught the start of the pay-per-view, and then it was funny. I'm not gonna say exactly what happened, but I don't know. Let's just say we may have gotten kicked out of the backstage area after the fights. Dana, you give me credentials. Things like this won't have to happen. I won't have to sneak around to get pictures with Robbie Lawler. I won't need to meander around until an MGM Grand Usher kicks me out. Or maybe this is just completely killing any chance I ever had to get fight credentials at all. But no, we had
not fuck Dana White, but anybody that's like, oh, you got to get out of here, because fuck you. Like, and I'm not hurting anybody.
I believe beers wise, I took 2 trips down to take a piss and go to the concession stand, and each time I got 2 $8 pints, the little aluminum can pints of the cold Coors Light.
God damn.
Yeah, it's expensive, but I mean, I don't know.
That literally
it's $30 a beer. It's kind of crazy.
Ounce per ounce, that's more expensive than cocaine.
You might be a little off with that math, but sure.
Well, you know what I mean.
I don't know what that costs.
You know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like pound for pound or whatever the hell. You know what?
Or kilo for kilo.
Kilo for kilo. And
I've never done coke. I don't know. You know,
ladies and gentlemen, I was pretty sauced up during the fights. Like, we got back to the hotel, and I think I passed out like not too long afterwards. And then Sunday was also fun. Like like I said, we saw Todd Rex and MMA Roasted, a.k.a. Adam Hunter at Bally's, and ended up leaving the Spearmint Rhino at 8 a.m. If you're ever in Vegas, I would check out both things that I just mentioned.
How did Katie Bear look? Was she happy?
No, I don't think so.
Good.
Moving on, folks. I think the only other topic that I wanted to get to before we send this out was Dominic Cruz getting his knee injured again. It went down a cuff. It is old news, but it went down 2 weeks ago. We weren't able to cover it. Davey, is this guy done, or is he going to be able to come back?
Dude, if the guy gets a fucking mosquito bite, he's going to get injured. I mean, hell yeah. It's unfortunate to say, but, I mean, he has a string of bad luck. But, yeah, I don't see how he could keep doing this to himself. I mean, his body, he has a body of a 70-year-old, but he's like 27, you know, and, like, he can't,
Same
like,
here.
just... He just can't, like, you know, like, just walk on an eggshell without getting fucking injured, or, like, just getting bitten by a mosquito or a fucking horsefly without, like, you know, breaking a leg. Like, it's unfortunate. It really is. And I would love to see him fight Dillashaw. I think that would be a good fight. I would love to see him fight Faber. I think that'd be an awesome, better fight too. But it's just it's not good for Dominic Cruz, man. It really isn't. But I mean, as far as I know, like, I mean, he's in good spirits, and he's going to. He said he's going to come back and return, as far as I know. But god damn, dude, like, I mean, this guy, he must have a permanent seat in the Fox Sports studio because of this.
Yeah, it's a damn shame. I am a Cruz fan. I do think he was one of the greatest of all time that never actually got a chance to do it while the actual spotlight and the money was shining down on him. It's a damn shame. But they gave him his little moment in the sun comeback against Mizugazayamaki, whoever he was. That was a good fight, man. He whooped his ass hands down. He proved his point. And yeah, he does get injured. Me myself, I'm 30-something, allegedly, and I also have the body of a 70-year-old. I mean, training thug jitsu 10 years takes at least 40 off of your lifespan. That's just the way it goes. It's a trade-off you make. It's a deal with the devil. You sign up to be a fighter as a career. You're signing up to get hurt for your career. Like, no one wants to admit that or believe that, but guess what? If you're fighting, you're going to get the other person is going to fight back, and you're not going to block 100%. So you're going to get hurt. But I think we will see him again, Dominic Cruz. He's just so young, and he's got to go broke sometime again, of course. But I do feel bad. I heard him on Chael Sonnen's podcast, which is called You're Welcome, available on podcast1.com, people, by the way. And Dominic Cruz, he did have some good advice, strategy. Like, his mindset is still there. And he wasn't bullshitting. He was talking high on himself and his game plans and how he can anticipate and like react to people and adapt and trick them. And like, usually, like, when Tito Ortiz or something like that is talking that kind of crap, you can tell it's bullshit. With Dominic Cruz, like, I actually believe his bullshit. And so if he wants to get himself healthy, heal up the second knee. I mean, fuck. If he got one leg working again, he can get the other one working again, I guess. Can he win fights? We'll see. Will I be there to support him and watch the fights and pay for them? Hell yeah. I like the guy. And he's not full of shit. So hats off to him, and I wish him nothing but the best. And that is the word on the street.
And I'm looking over the last 3 or 4 weeks. There have been a lot of stories. We obviously can't get to all of them. Next week when we come back, we'll probably know a little bit more about this whole smoking gun of Jon Jones. We'll obviously be breaking down UFC Fight Night, Boston, Connor versus Dennis Seaver. That'll be Sunday, January 18th. Friday the 16th, it's actually Pitbull versus Strauss, and that'll be a very fun Bellator card in Temecula. So we'll touch on that a little bit, talk about it. As always, I'm sure there'll be crazy shit. Chances are Belfort will probably be out of the title fight against Weidman at UFC 184. There will be a major injury at UFC 183 if 2015 is anything like 2014, just with all the crazy amounts of injuries and failed drug tests and strange goings on. Here's to a cleaner year as far as fighters not needing to pull out of fights. Let's sign off. Where do we find you, Davey?
Well, again, I am the future of the world and of mixed martial arts. You can find me on Twitter. That's DAVEI_BOI. And I want to give a little special outro to 5 people: Ariane Celeste, Hector Lombard, Boyd Burton, the cuckold, Ken Shamrock, and Larry L. Hilwani. If you guys really have something to say to me, the best thing to do is not to fucking block me. If you want to try to own me on Twitter, please do. I mean, it just makes you guys look so fucking stupid blocking people when they speak the fucking truth and they can see through the future. That's my shit. I'm fucking done.
Yo, if there's one thing I've learned from Davey, it's that if you block him, he's gonna cut some ridiculous promos on you. So do not block Davey Boy on Twitter, and also visit stamps.com. Use the promo code Davey Boy for 10% off. Ramses, where do we find you on the Twitters?
Yeah,
Snort those lines.
Say no to drugs, kids. Stay in school. You can find me on Twitter, The Aunt Jimmy Show. Shout out to Hoist Gracie, Matt Hughes, Mike Chiappetta, Benson Henderson, Donald Cerrone, Ronda Rousey, Dana White, Lorenzo Fertino, Fedor, Joe Rogan, Burt Watson, Front Row Brian's podcast. Check that out. The FRB show.
Bloodstained
Chael
Lane.
Sonnet's podcast. Bloodstained Lane. Lexi, Mike, Katie Bear, Jenny Friedman, Joey Coco Diaz, Chris the Ninja Gracie, the MMA Conspiracy Guy, Davey Spears,
Finkelstein, Yao, Chris.
Jake. Oh yeah, my bastard
Alan.
sons, everybody, I love you all. I gotta do more. Join us next time on the MMA podcast. It's been nothing but a pleasure. I'm out. It's getting hot in here. It's time to do some coke. Word on the street.
That's right, people. If you liked this show, go do 2 big old fat long rails of cocaine, or tell a friend about it. Tell them that you liked it. Tell them to listen to the MMA Podcast. We're on Twitter at the MMA Podcast or the MMA Podcast.com. We'll see you next week, people. We're out of here.
Jake,
Peace.
tune into the MMA Podcast every Tuesday night.
Act the wild style, always been a foul child. Realize, sucker, I be the coming like Noah.
The MMA Podcast, Jake is the host. And since Ramsey's been in the wheelchair, the Aunt Jimmy Show has been on a roll. I wanna say Jon Jones is the host, so I think that I'll pick up the phone and dial 213-457-3380. We got hot takes on the stove. You get blood on your clothes if you're sitting in the front row. I throw on my gi and then I lace the hoops. I'll have Yao lying down cause he ain't the truth. And if Alan wasn't a cop, I'd mention you. And shout out to Ross Finkelstein the Jew. Cause according to you, you're an MMA guru. Approved Bisbing lost his hands count Dooku. If you're a fancy boy, you get a 2-minute slot. Mystery wants a title shot. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me TS, screaming George, where you at? I'm on the strap. But you know that I'll never tap. So listen to the MMA Podcast. Throw a high kick, but I block that. Call me TS, screaming George, where you at? I want the strap. And you know that I won't tap. Mystery. The MMA Podcast. Most of us just live and breathe this fighting shit. Shut up, Jake. Shut up, Jake.